So you join me in the Mark 7 Golf R to talk about the Mark 8 Golf R's infotainment, and this obviously applies to any sort of Mark 8 Golf, but it's one of the questions that I do get quite a lot, just how easy it is to use. Now, I have spent quite a lot of time in the Mark 8 Golf R and the GTI Club Sport as well, and a CS45 as well, which is all on my channel, but obviously I've owned my Mark 7 for 4 years, so I know the infotainment here inside and out, and I just kind of want to compare the differences and let you know what I kind of think of the Mark 8 compared to the Mark 7, and then sort of like the Mark 8 sort of in its own entity. So for me, this is the Mark 7 Golf R, my Mark 7 Golf R sort of infotainment. And this is basically what I like quite a lot, to be honest with you. You get easy to use kind of like physical buttons here, just volume, cruise control, pretty simple. And then stuff on the right I don't even use. I think it's like voice control or something, but nice and easy, no sort of complications. Then you get the buttons down here. Now these are the three that are probably the most important. Probably a downside, particularly on a Golf R like a Mark 8. Traction control here, hold it down, it turns off, press it once, it sort of changes it to sport. Auto start stop, so it turns that off, and changing the modes between sort of like race, individual, sort of sport and eco. And the actual touchscreen here is really easy. I've kind of always had it on sort of like the same setting, so if I'm sort of on a cruise, I'll have it like that. And then if I want to change driving modes, press mode and it changes it here, and you can just use the touch button, which is nice and easy because it's just 4 physical buttons to kind of scroll between. Nice and simple. So if I wanted it in eco, and I'd have it on blue. If I wanted it to be in like race or individual, I'd just press car, it says the vehicle status, and you get the performance monitor, which I really like, and I believe you can get that in the Mark 8. But that's basically all I use. I mean, like, what more would you need? It's pretty simple. And then, yeah, physical dials as well. That's basically what a Mark 7 Golf R interior is like, and obviously a lot different to a Mark 8. So inside the Mark 8 Golf R, and yeah, completely different view. As you can see, it's now touch haptic buttons, which have a really weird kind of sensitivity to them. Quite hard to explain on camera, but yeah, obviously not physical, and it's a little bit harder to get used to, I'll be honest with you. I didn't spend much time doing it. The only thing that I used in the Mark 8 Golf R was pressing that R button. To access mode, you have to press it there. That's what you do on like the GTIs, because they don't have a button on the steering wheel. And then you've obviously got individual, race, sport, comfort, and all those kind of things. But what I did find is sometimes the screen would revert back to sort of like the main menu, which was a bit weird. I can guarantee you, in individual, don't turn away from me, in individual, the amount of settings was quite high. This car was very well equipped, this Golf R, so it had DCC, so you can see there's 15 different settings for your suspension, so that's quite a lot. But you can sort of individualize it, and it has its own sort of like default settings. So obviously comfort is full soft, race is full hard, and then like Nürburgring is somewhere in the middle with sport. And actually using the system, it's okay. I mean, sometimes it takes a few grabs at the touchscreen to work. The actual quality of the dials though look really good. You can notice the improvements from my Mark 7. Mine's not a Mark 7.5, it's just a Mark 7, although it did have like the latest, or I believe it's MIB2 update on mine, so a little bit more crisper. But yeah, in person it's very glossy, very easy to use. I've mentioned before the glossiness needs sort of like a microfiber cloth. You need to have it in your glove box all the time because it just gets dirty so much. But yeah, as you can see, we're kind of sort of playing around here. It takes a little bit of time to get used to. That's just the one thing. And can you imagine doing this on the move? It's a lot different than my Mark 7, you know, particularly when you just want to drive, particularly like a Golf R like this. You kind of have to think about where you're pushing your finger and where you want to go. It's not so straightforward. Nothing wrong about the dials, and obviously it's not physical dials anymore. I do worry with all the software stuff. You know, I've heard about faults and I've heard about needing updates and stuff. You can make changes to like the ambient lighting as well, which is really cool to sort of like add to kind of like the airiness. This car had a pan roof, for example.
Yeah, there we go, back round. So at the minute it's all blue, but if I was to go to, is it mood?
Oh, that's really cool.
Automatic, so then when you press, now go back into mode, go into comfort, it changes the colour.
So even that, that's like a proper calming. See, I'd love that if I was
sport and race. I just left that blue, so I think, and then individual, I can make it red or whatever.
You can see how I'm easily amazed. Like, colours. It's true, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true,
It is
yeah.
how your mood is. An endless amount of colours, really. And I actually really think it added to the mood quite a lot. You can get like the lighting on the side as well of the car, similar to the Mark 7, but this is obviously a little bit more, yeah, it's just a little bit more customizable. So there you go. That's something that you can play around with. It is endless. You could study the manual, you play around with this for ages and ages. Unfortunately, when you're driving and you're on the move, this sort of stuff just isn't that easy. We didn't have any issues with it freezing or anything like that. and you know, other owners have mentioned to me about it being a bit laggy. I think software updates will simply solve those kind of problems. As you can see, we're kind of flicking through quite easy. Sometimes it takes like a second press sometimes to get something on, and if you're bumping around at like 70 miles an hour, it's a little bit weird. That drag down is quite handy to use, particularly as we worked out how to pin the traction control. Otherwise you'd have to go into the brake system, you have to make the change there, and it's just more pressing of buttons to get to what I would want to do in a Golf R. But overall, that is the Mark 8's infotainment. Obviously this is generic across sort of like a GTI and R, with obviously a few little differences, but I have to say it's really, really nice. It's great, particularly when you're sitting in your car's not moving, but on the move you just need to set it up and leave it, because using a lot of it on the move, it's very tricky. Be interested to know your thoughts in the comments on this, as always, on this community channel.